Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is episode 3 and we are going to be talking about burnout. There are many reasons why I want to talk about burnout. Firstly, it's important to talk about burnout because during this pandemic, we all have been at home, studying from our laptops, working from our laptops, and staying essentially in the same spot, doing the same things all day long, surrounded by the same people. Burnout is gonna kind of happen. I also want to talk about different signs of burnout. If you're someone who doesn't believe in the word burnout, you don't believe that it's like a thing that happens and it's just hocus pocus, watch this video because you're right. I mean, it is kind of a word people can just tend to throw around without actually knowing about it, but that's why I'm making this video, just to create awareness around it. So stay tuned. So before I get more into this video, I want to apologize for not posting my Talk Tuesdays for the last 2 weeks. So what happened was I started work at an accounting firm. I will not disclose which accounting firm, but it's busy season and I started January 4th. I didn't know that I'd be working like 12-14 hours a day, but here I am. So unfortunately, Talk Tuesdays had to kind of take a back burner, which sucks because I was trying so hard to be consistent with it and I only got like 2 Talk Tuesdays out. But you know what? I think I'm just gonna figure out a new schedule around it. I'm just gonna have to record my Talk Tuesdays on the weekends instead, so they will be very consistent going forward, and honestly, I love to do these. On the topic of working, this is the reason why I'm making this video, because burnout is very, very apparent, especially working long hours, working from home, not knowing when to take your breaks, having your laptop right there, easily accessible. Literally, I think we're working way more than we would have if we had just gone into the office. Of course, you're saving on traveling and commute time, and you get to wear pajamas and sweat pretty much all day. There are also a lot of downsides to it, and if we don't know how to address these issues, or I guess downsides right now, then they can have a long-term negative impact on not only your health, but also your mental state of mind. So that's kind of the reason why I'm making this video. I guess I'll start off by saying or explaining my situation with burnout and what I kind of thought about burnout. So, burnout is a state of emotional and physical and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. So this is why people tend to throw around the word burnout a lot when you're working at corporate or working in your professional careers. It even happens to students in college and university. Basically, burnout is when you push yourself past your limits. And although I totally am a fan of pushing your limits, and I agree that you should always step out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself, I do think that there is a threshold that you shouldn't pass. And there are a lot of signs that are early signs of burnout that you can acknowledge and therefore maybe stop burnout happening in the future. So with my personal experience as burnout, honestly, to be completely honest with you guys, I have not burned out. However, I did a couple of times think I was burned out because there would be some days where I honestly just could not do more work, or I needed to take an extra hour break or take off the night because I'm just not able to work. Although these may seem like they're signs for burnout, they might just be a sign of you kind of overdoing it and being overwhelmed. So what are a couple of signs of burnout is when you're completely almost dissociated and disconnected to what you're doing, and you completely have lost interest in your hobbies. You no longer are just stressed about a specific task, but you're stressed about you being at that place at that time, and it's more than just having a specific reason you're stressed out. Also, just before we dive even deeper into this video, burnout is not something you can just recover from just by like taking a day or 2 off of work. It's not like that. Burnout is more severe, and it's actually something that doctors diagnose people with. So for those people who think this is hocus pocus, it's not. And if it doesn't apply to you, then I really think it's still important for you to know about it. There are actually 5 stages of burnout that I do want to talk about. The reason I want to talk about this is because I think it's applicable for everyone right now staying at home during COVID, and it's also very important to address these concerns prior to detecting. I'm all about preventing something from happening instead of detecting it and then fixing it, you know? So might as well make sure it doesn't happen so that you don't gotta deal with all the mess that happens after. You feel me? We on the same page? Cool. A couple of signs of burnout is number 1, getting irritated pretty easily. Getting irritated with your coworker or a friend for simply asking a question or just maybe bringing up something funny, cracking some jokes. If you're noticing that those things are not funny to you and they once were, well then there you go. That's just an early sign that burnout might be happening. Inability to focus. Let's say that there's a task that you were able to do a year ago and now all of a sudden you're not able to do the same task the same way, the same efficiency, and you honestly just hate it. That's also job dissatisfaction, which is a pretty big leading factor to burnout, so keep that in mind. If you first started off super energetic, you were really excited to meet people, your first couple of months on the job, new job, you're learning new things, it is natural and normal for you to settle in and then suddenly get more comfortable and maybe you don't feel that push anymore. That's completely fine. However, when you start to realize that you actually hate this job and you don't like it anymore, and it's not only not challenging or over challenging, but you realize that it's not for you and you're still forcing yourself to be there, that's gonna definitely lead to burnout because you're doing something you don't want to do, and therefore that stress is now putting more stress on you than it would if you appreciated the value of the work that you were doing, if that makes sense. Another really big one that I really want to emphasize is lack of hobbies. Let's say you were a person who used to run or used to paint, or you were in a band or you played an instrument of some sort. I think it's very important for you to recognize when suddenly you don't have the time or you don't feel like doing those things the way you used to. Of course, hobbies and likings and dislikings change, but they don't change that drastically in such a short amount of time. So if you're noticing after a couple of months you're no longer keeping up with your hobby, with your friends, with your social interactions, sign of burnout. Anger and aggression, again, is also a sign of burnout. And another one that I want to talk about is feeling like you don't have a purpose anymore. So again, this kind of goes and connects back to job dissatisfaction. When you're doing a job and you're putting in so many hours into something that you don't feel like you're not getting the value for, that's gonna lead to burnout because, again, as I already mentioned, you're not putting your time towards something you find is valuable. That in turn leads to sadness or depression, and so these are things that we need to prevent at first, and sometimes it's really hard to be able to notice these signs, to see these signs, but it's very important to check yourself and talk to your loved ones and always socially interact. Even though I know it's a little harder right now, you can always FaceTime, you can always Zoom. It's really important to check in on yourself, especially in a time like this pandemic where we're spending the most times with ourselves. We need to have our own back, and so this is another reason why I'm making this video, because we should all be able to detect these signs. So I do have a couple of tips that I don't think can be found in research papers or in blogs or anywhere else. These are tips that I actually have implemented myself, and I've noticed a huge difference already in burnout. So tip number 1, I know a lot of people have like their desk, their work desk or their workstation or study station in their room right next to their bed. I highly recommend having your desk space somewhere else. Do not have it in your room. Why? Well, you need to figure out a way to separate your personal life from your work life. Now more than ever, working from home has become very personal because you have your work laptop right there. It's very hard to log off when you think you need to log off. At a normal time, for example 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., you'd log off for the day and you'd head home. Well, now that we're at work, we feel the need to continue working. So we're actually putting in more hours than we would before. So although productivity may be increasing, which is great for bottom line numbers and companies, you gotta make sure that your mental health is not deteriorating at the expense of that. So I have set up my desk, as you can tell, downstairs. This is my basement, and I have my room upstairs. That's where I sleep, and I have a clear separation from those two things. meetings because I don't want to wake up and just see my desk there first thing. A second thing with burnout that I've noticed is not eating your lunch near your work table. I am very bad for this, especially right now at work. It's busy season, so it's kind of hard to step away from your laptop and eat and like take a break. I know how much work needs to be done essentially, so I used to eat my lunch right in front of my laptop, which is never ever a good thing. You need to give your brain and body breaks. So I highly recommend when you're eating food or taking your breaks, you leave your workstation, you literally close your laptop, go upstairs or elsewhere in your house, go for a walk, get some vitamin D in you, do something that's away from your laptop. Don't think it's not a lunch break if you're just eating lunch in front of your laptop while working. Like, you do need to give yourself breaks. And although I know this sounds very like, obviously, no, it's not obvious when you're actually working and you have a lot of things on your mind. So that's another tip that I will give you guys. To stop from burnout, I also have a daily games night with my colleagues or my friends. So every single day I have something to look forward to. So for example, today myself and my colleagues had a little Scribblio game that we played online, which is basically kind of like Pictionary, but we played it online for half an hour from 5 to 5:30, and it gives you a chance to talk to your colleagues, check in on one another, and just see how we're all doing, because it's really hard to see each other now that we're all working from home. And these social interactions play a huge part in burnout. So I really recommend you reaching out to your loved ones or friends every now or often and just, you know, reach out to them once a day, once every second day, but make sure you're doing some sort of social interaction every day. Don't skip out on that because it's for yourself. Another thing that's really helped me combat burnout is meditation. So I know meditation is not for everyone. It's a little bit intimidating, I get it. But what I do is as soon as I wake up in the morning, before I start work, I go on YouTube and I type in a 10-minute meditation video or session. And there's like a bunch of videos that pop up. I think from Calm, there's this one app and it's great. It's called Calm. And I just listen to 10 minutes of that. And it basically, there's a guided facilitator and they walk you through what you're supposed to be thinking about, how you're supposed to take your breaths and all that stuff. So I really recommend anyone who either has never thought about meditation before or is just scared to try it or is just unsure to just simply go on YouTube and type it in and do it every single day before you start work consistently. It's got to be consistent for you to see results, and what this has done for me is just made me more calm throughout the day, made me check in on myself more often, made me take things slow, and allowed me not to take on too much stress, because there are a lot of tasks that need to get done, of course, but you don't need to also take on the stress that's associated with that. It's kind of created from just yourself, you know what I mean? Those are just a couple of tips that I really wanted to share with you guys, and I really felt like making a video on burnout because I know that it's the thing that a lot of people are struggling with, whether you're a student or you're working right now. It's bound to happen globally because everyone is at home because of this pandemic. And the last tip that I want to give is a little bit of exercise. This could simply be going for like a half an hour walk with your family or by yourself, either in the morning or during your lunch break, or it could be as simple as doing a 20-minute HIIT workout or running on your treadmill. I strongly recommend exercising in whatever form works for you at least once a day. You gotta do, because when you're taking care of your brain, which is exactly what we're trying to do right now, you also gotta take care of everything else, which is your body. And as I've already mentioned, no one else is gonna take care of us right now during this time. We have to have our own back. Those are the tips that I had to share. They all have worked for me, so I can verify that they will also work for you. Go easy on ourselves a little bit because the world is not going easy on us, so the least we can do for ourselves is just be nice to ourselves. Check in with ourselves, give ourselves enough breaks, and talk to each other. We are a social species. We need to talk to one another to have a social interaction to feel good. And I promise you, after a shitty day, talking to friends, making some jokes, cracking up some jokes, watching a movie online together, it'll make you feel good, I promise. Aside from that, I really hope you guys got something out of this video, and I'm really glad that we're here together talking about something that really matters to us and is applicable to all of us. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I will be posting Talk Tuesdays every single Tuesday going forward, because I'm gonna now be filming my videos on the weekend, so that if I do work a 14-hour shift, it's okay. I'll still have it ready for you guys. That's how much I care about you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and again, subscribe if you liked it. Aside from that, I'll see you guys next Talk Tuesday. Bye!